She had big dreams, she lost them cold, out in the cold with the bad dreams all over. Never see red again, never see day or night again, all over. Gone, that bad blood, gone dead. Persecuted for dreams, bad dreams fed for childhood. All the lies we learned to tolerate, to put up with the future of lies. Rat full of lies, future lies. No dreams, just lies. Lies, eyes, lies, eyes around me, lies, eyes, lies, eyes around me, eyes, lies, eyes, eyes around me, eyes, lies, eyes around me. G'day, mob. What's going on? How are we? Good to see you all here and stuff. Yes, I'm shiny. It's hot. It's sweaty. It's gross and dank. Unfortunately, I had to put clothing on for this stream. Anyway, it is what it is. We'll just get on with it. GRB, first cab off the rank with a 66 minutes to stream, 66 of Dr. Black 66. And as mentioned by me in the chat, I'm gonna send off two massive big heapings of bucketfuls of kudos in the post for GRB. Well done, GRB. As usual, great to have you here. Riddle Singh, how are you, Rids? Anthony's fishy friends. I heard the old drinking game stream was getting a bit of chatter the other day on someone else's stream. Seems my guitar throwing moment was a moment in YouTube streaming history that the Fish Fam has not erased from their memory yet. I suppose if I mention it again, someone will probably put a link to it, so those that missed it can go and enjoy it all over again. Take advantage of Blacky's moment of weakness. Or something like that. All things fish, how are you? T-Bone, how's it going? Get out and walk. Mary Page Flynn, how are you? I was going to say, my chat was very confusing then. I had like 10 comments and I'm thinking that doesn't seem right. And then all of a sudden the chat window just exploded. And now I've got a bajillion chats to read as I scroll down. Mickham, g'day mate. Jeff Rose, welcome back Jeff Rose. Always good to have you here, mate. Jim's Sleepy Jim, as everyone knows him as, maybe, if that's what the Z's mean. Who can tell? He's a strange Jim. And Brothers, Craig Broderick in the house. We're experiencing warmth all around this fine country of Australia. Third Coast Aquatics, g'day to you, welcome. Holly Gibbs, oh, welcome back, Holly. And James Ukulak. How are you, James? Welcome. Always good to see you. But yeah, Rico Starn. How are you, Rico? Yeah, thanks, Mickham. I was a little bit concerned if I started my show with a little bit of heavy metal. I was a wee bit concerned that people might just switch off and run away. But yeah, who'd have thunk that my dulcet tones could create such growliness and screaminess and whatever else it is and stuff. Just trying to work out my angle. This never seems to be right. I probably should go back a metre so I'm completely framed by fish tank instead of messy room and dryer. Who have I missed? Two Dougs, GMA. G'day, two Dougs. When one Doug is not enough, you need two Dougs, GMA. That would have come across so much more humorous if I didn't stuff up the words. Bloody jumping chat. Up we go again to find out where I was up to. Pamela, Punchy Paints, hello to you. What did Rico miss? Goodness me. I just said hi to Pam, didn't I? Hello, Pam. Always good to have you in the use. Hope it's not too freezing for you. Once again, I believe we're at complete opposite ends of the spectrum because it's friggin' hot here, as you can tell by my red shiny face. Zip Gun, how are you today? Welcome. Where is Puff? That's a little bit cryptic, two Dougs. You may have to explain. Kenny, how are you, Kenny? Welcome. Cichlids Aquarium Keeper, or CAC, as I like to call him. Peplin Creek Aquatics. G'day, Pep. Long time no see. Welcome back. I hope everything is going swimmingly in your world. Always good to have you in the mob. Roland Ricky. Oh, I might have to if I get enough requests for the metal song that everyone missed, I might have to play it again, unless you just go back and watch the first 4.5 minutes of the stream. I really, really do have to try and work out why this chat jumps on me. 0056. How are you? Welcome, Geek Boy. G'day again. Oh, there we go. GRB has chucked up the link. Oh, even a timestamp. Nice work, GRB. Biggies, how are you, Mark? Welcome. And my vapor buddy Beast. Yeah, I have messaged him asking if he's going to jump on the stream today, but haven't heard back from him at the minute. What did you call him, but? Now I'm too intrigued. I'll have to go and find out. Or maybe I've gone too far. Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Beast, Joshua Michael. Maybe in a little bit later on. It was an epic guitar throw. Danny can into the computer, smash the computer onto the ground. Guitar went with it. Computer still perfectly functional the next day, and not only that, but the guitar remained perfectly in tune. The worst thing about that was that obviously being a drinking stream, I was quite under the weather by that stage of the stream, and I didn't recall doing it. And the next morning I was on, I think I had 2 other streams to do. But yeah, up the next morning and I've got all these people saying, how's the guitar, asking me about the guitar. And I had no idea what people were talking about. The perils of heavy drinking, ladies and gentlemen. Drink in moderation. Be careful with alcohol consumption. Remember to hydrate as you drink alcohol. And likely wise advice to get some food in your guts before you drink excessive amounts of the booze. Lee Wilcox is here. G'day, Lee. And who else did I see? Jono Larson. G'day, Jono. How's it going? Yeah, somebody what was it? I think it was Griffin's. Was it on Griffin's stream? They were talking. Oh, Mika. Yeah, they were talking about it, and one of the other Australian fish boys shot me a message and said, "You're being talked about on a stream." But you know, I'm a little bit vain, but I'm not that vain, so I didn't go and watch. I was doing other stuff at the time, probably watching Star Wars or some nonsense. 3 guesses, Craig. 3 guesses. I'm assuming you'll probably get it on the first guess. Let's just say it was stronger than what everyone else on the stream was drinking. And apparently Australian shots, our 30ml shots, are a little bit bigger than American shots. I think we determined that night. So yeah, I still won, I believe. I won. I got very drunk, but I still claimed the victory somehow. Apparently, when I'm drunk, my trivia brain still functions at top level. But yeah, it's probably something like that, Kenny. Pretty close to a 2-to-1 ratio. Unfortunately, my just going on what happened at the time when it happened, my Green Day rage may not be as easy to suppress when I've got a belly full of wild turkey, brothers. Wild turkey. Woodstock's just my cheapo pre-made option I like to have for my streams. But 9 times out of 10, I'm a wild turkey drinker, as expensive as it is and how it's driving me to the poorhouse. I could always ease up, I guess. Sensible advice. But, humans are generally loath to take sensible advice. I don't know. I've got a very open mind to masturbation, Rico Stan, so it wouldn't have been masturbation that set me off. I think someone was constantly hassling me to play a particular Green Day song. And, I think that's what I reacted at, just going by watching the replay, because clearly, as previously stated, my memory of the exact moment in time is a little bit sketchy. So what's been going on in everyone's world? That's the spirit, T-Bone. I like that. 1 drink is too many, 10 is not enough. Once you kick off, you got to keep going. Actually, speaking of Jack Daniels, when I was in the bottle-o this morning, was it this morning? It's probably just afternoon, I'd say. The Jack Daniels slightly stronger version, they were on special, but they still weren't tempting enough. They're only the 6.9% ones, and I got the 8% ones instead. For $1 dearer than the Jack Daniels one, so I'd quite happy to pay for the dodgier brands than the brand names. And someone's suggesting, who was that suggested? Kenny, suggesting that me and Lee should do a show. I imagine it would be quite funny. Oh, that's whoops. Clicked on the. Oh, nice 2 Dougs. I hope I'm probably going to get one this afternoon, but currently clear as. Rico Stan is inviting me up as well. And yeah, Lee Wilcox, that's the sign of a true friend, a friend that knows that it's the alcohol, not you, to make them a friend. But anyway, on the note of true friends, I'm going to bring this guy up. There it is. That took so long to start. And now it's going to take so long to finish.
It's going to go like 15 minutes of cheering and applause. Oh, there it comes. There it is.
Yeah, I think I do keep saying that I need to, go and get a slightly shorter applause sound effect. But here we are, still with the 11-minute applause effect.
Never a short applause.
Yeah.
You should get longer applause. Schlonger.
Yeah.
The ultimate deep, long applause break.
Well, it'll certainly boost the view minutes, won't it? If people have to sit around waiting for applause to finish.
You guys,
Yeah.
we gotta think about watch time because it's just so
it's crucial to
important
our
to
existence.
the robots, man.
Ian Atkins, how are you, Ian? Welcome back.
I gotta fix my brows, bruh.
Oh man, I'm so tempted to shave mine off.
My brows are full of sawdust and
Right,
gypsum.
good old gypsum. No, mine are just curly, and I get those old man eyebrow hairs that hang down in front of my vision, so they give me the shits. And then I just start plucking at them, trying to remove them, and then all of a sudden I go and look in the mirror, and I've got half an eyebrow left. It's like, I'm probably just better off without them.
I don't know. I say I've got the big wizard brows too, and if I go to the barber, every once in a while they ask me like, "Hey, you want to cut those eyebrows?" And I'm like, "No, I shall grow them as wizardly as possible."
There's
I mean, there's no way I'm going to be able to take on Gandalf, right? If I don't have full wizard brows, okay? And considering he's the white wizard now, all right, I would have to be the only gray-blue wizard that's left. So I'm not saying we're going to battle to the death, but gentleman competition, wizardly, right?
Yeah, I generally I mean, it's been a long time since I've had my clippers out to do my own hair, but I will generally put the smaller comb on my clippers and just give them a tidy up. But because I haven't used my clippers for so long, I think my brain just had a shutdown. I just scissor off the dangly ones. But if you're talking about dudes with spectacular eyebrows, I mean, GRB makes mention of John Howard, ex-Australian Prime Minister, who definitely had spectacular eyebrows. But, what was that Australian show that you got me to watch? The space one?
Oh, Farscape?
Farscape, thank you. Yeah. The dude who plays one of the puppet characters, actually the puppet has the long eyebrows too. Whatever his name is, the 19th, the actor who plays him, oh my God, he has the most impressive eyebrows.
Yeah.
They are wild. But yeah, I don't know. I know we need them. I know they're functional, but sometimes I could just do without them.
So I gotta work on my wizarding. Hold on. Well, how do I get the mop? Oh, my dude. There we go. So because you were playing metal earlier, we gotta get fully engrossed in our metal. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
That's very metal.
It's much easier to live stream like this. Then people won't be able to figure out who I am without the algorithm's help.
Oh, yeah.
And then just be out here being shredded, and just thinking about guitar chords and Gandalf and Frodo's. I'm into it. I don't have enough gray hair yet to grow mine out. I think when my hair gets this gray, I'm gonna grow it out, like just flowing.
Might as well. I think this
is a very like 80s kind of like, hey guys.
That's the reason I started growing mine out, because it's going so grey that by the time it gets to the length that you've got on your head, I should be a head full of white hair.
You could be thrashing, bro, and it'll be epic.
Yeah,
I know that I'll be into it, dude.
I won't have the I imagine by the time that comes around, Yeah, I don't think my body will be up to the thrashing.
Yeah.
I'll just do these ones and hope for the best.
You're just like hoping to take a nap.
Crikey. It's becoming quite difficult to breathe through my nose, though. Oh,
yeah, it's good times, though. It's good times here. What is it, Monday today? Is today Monday?
Tuesday for you.
Oh, man. That means I worked all day today.
That just made my face liquid.
I was feeling kind of introspective earlier because I one of the few opportunities I ever get to talk to people. We did the socially distanced, got to chat with Dean and Corey today and eat a sandwich. It was kind of fun. And then I was getting all super introspective. And then I remembered that it was Tuesday. And there's no real need for that on a Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tuesday's for cheerful whistling, I think.
I had a question. Okay. So excluding the Star Wars universe and I don't know. I feel like it would make it a little bit difficult. But let's say any fictitious world, whether it be books or films or comic books or whatever, doesn't matter. What universe would you like to live in? Maybe instead of just the top one, maybe the top three or something like that. What are the universe that come to mind? I would say one of mine would definitely have to be Middle Earth for sure.
Well, I suppose that'd be a lot of people's go-to, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, just because it's fleshed out in a very long time period, right? So you don't have to be when it's Frodo or Bilbo. Like that's only like a 100 or 200 year period. That's just this little slice of what's filled out as like, I think realistically like 5,000 year period. So like you could be a dwarf who lives, what do they live to be like 500, or something like that. I mean, you'd have to be kind of a humanoid creature. You can't really pick like a spider, like, come on now. That's just silly. You can't just be like, well, I'd be a dragon. But I think like if you're a humanoid creature, I don't know that I'd want to be an elf because that's just goofball.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I would want to live that long. That seems like a really excessive amount of time to be just kind of creeping and crawling around and hoping to get on a boat. That sounds goofy.
They also seem like elves seem like they would spend so much of their day preening in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
Because they always look so perfect.
I mean, they got a lot of things. They have a lot of goofy things going on, like the groups with the patriarchy, and then they got the groups with the matriarchy, and then they've got all these like weird languages, and you just kind of live forever, and everybody's glowing, and maybe you have magic, but maybe you don't. There's a lot of very lofty expectations. I mean, it's like, well, you're 2,000 years old, child. We're not going to listen to you. And then be like, oh my God, I have to wait around for 5,000 years of training before anybody even like considers me to speak a sentence. That seems a bit much.
I think my number one go-to would probably be the Discworld.
The Discworld?
Terry Pratchett fame. Yeah.
Okay. I could go with that.
I like a lot of the weirdness and the similarities to our own world for some reason.
I was trying to think, what was the name of where Dris de Erden lived? Where R.A. Salvatore. So R.A. Salvatore did the Dris de Erden is one of his characters. The Forgotten Realms. Oh my God! Have you not read the R.A. Salvatore books?
Ooh. I've not.
You might be into that. You would like that. Ooh. This is oh man, we're breaking ground here. Oh my gosh. So it's about 7 or 8 books, but they're all pretty like I guess there's 30. They're all pretty easy reads because I think like the first book is like 5 books altogether. It's like 5 short books. Yeah, so the Cleric Quintet is like the first 5 books. But they're all pretty short and stuff. But Dris de Erden is one of his main characters, and I was trying to think of because that's like the Forgotten Realms. I was trying to think of like what their land was called or whatever, but that would be an interesting place to live because it's like a much more fleshed out version of not necessarily like version, but it's sort of similar-ish to J.R.R. Tolkien. So it's like it's in the fantasy. I don't think there's any dragons, although there might be.
Well, my biggest problem always with Tolkien stuff was that I always felt that it was overwritten. So if you're saying this Salvatore dude is a slightly easier read, that certainly seems interesting to me. I always felt that Tolkien used way too many words to make his points. But I don't know if that still would hold true to myself if I read it nowadays.
Yeah. The R.A. Salvatore books, they're pretty easy reads. They do kind of go into they do kind of cover some internal dialogue, but it's more or like internal monologue, but it's more just like expressive of like what their motivations were more than like kind of the crazy weirdness of Tolkien.
Yeah, right.
I always feel like Tolkien almost went too far with the like, I wrote the language of the elves before I wrote the books, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, really, dude? Come on now. That's a bit much, bruh.
And it's not even a humble brag, is it? Xanadudu, g'day, and BJ Palmer is here. Hello there, you mob.
Xanadudu is a new member on my channel, dude.
Nice. Well done. Congratulations, Xanadudu.
Yeah.
You've joined a fantastic channel.
I would say mediocre at best, often.
I may have to, give something back and become a member myself for all of the time and effort you put into my channel.
Someday, maybe. It's a strong maybe.
I should potentially start playing the lottos as well. Then I might be available to do so.
I do have my lottery tickets, but somebody won the big jackpots, dude. It was over $1 billion.
Fuck off.
Yeah. It had gotten all the way up over $1 billion.
Holy dooly, that's ridiculous.
It's just pure absurdity. I don't know how many people won it, but you got to think like because they take the taxes out when you win, and you get taxed at like the maximum amount. And I think they still, 30, no. Yeah, they basically cut you a check for $700 million or something crazy.
No, that's crazy.
It's bonkers.
There was
what's weird is like in America, if you play your cards right, you could get a bunch of that tax money back at the end of the year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Very bizarro.
If you've got enough nous about you when you're filling in your tax return, yeah. There's always there's always little loopholes where you can get a little bit of extra money back if you know what.
That's right.
There was a guy down here.
I leave it up to my tax lady 100%.
They know their stuff.
I've got 2 tax people that look over my taxes, make sure everything's hunky doozy, and then it is what it is.
There was a tradie guy down here in Australia. I can't remember if he was a Melbourne guy or a Queensland guy, but he won a $10 million lottery, which is about $7.50 US, I think. And there was a big story going around because he'd won his 10 million, but he's not given up work. He's going to keep his work going and put it back into society.
What a douche.
See how long that lasts.
I mean, you're talking about like a $10 million jackpot or something like that. And let's say that you're a plumber or something. I don't know what's a job profession. I guess plumber is a job profession.
Yeah, we have plumbers down here too. We have pipes.
I know you have pipes and plumbing. I was just trying to think, like, I don't know, plumber is just kind of it, But like, let's say you're a plumber and you win like $10 million, and you're like, I'm going to keep working, guys.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you work for? Well, why wouldn't you work for like charity, right? Like, why wouldn't you go fix plumbing at people's houses that are all effed up, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, I'm going to keep going to my job. I need to get my paycheck because that's real important, for humans to like work for the paycheck thing, because I got to get the paycheck thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't really know what to do with my life. It's like, it feels very kind of psychotically one-dimensional when somebody like that wins the jackpot or whatever, and they're like, guys, I'm still going to be like a middling CPA. Okay. I'm still going to be crappy at my job, or just like sufficient enough to get fired or to not get fired. But I'm going to keep doing that, even though I've got $28 million now and I make $1,000 a week, so it's just really important for me to show up and just gum up the works with my sort of being at the office, it's really important, it's so stupid.
It's like, it's a really dodgy situation because the dude probably felt that in his mind, by telling the rest of the world that he's going to keep on working, the rest of the world's going to be going, oh, what a top shelf, humble dude that guy is.
What a bloke. Oh man, that guy's a real cream of the crop, guys.
Like you said, he could be spending his winnings traveling himself to places of need and, building wells for the pygmies in the Congo or whatever that other dude does. And
Jason Wren, that guy. What's his name?
Guy.
Jason Wren? Is that his name?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got the ability there to fly around the world and.
Well, you've got the ability to, at the very least, like, engage with the world in the real way that you always wanted to engage with the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a matter of like, oh boy, you really should go to work. I mean, everybody should go to work and find some kind of thing that they're supposed to do or whatever. But like, you win a jackpot like that, it's the opportunity for you to engage in the world the way that you've always wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so
you
true.
actually have kind of that FU money situation that you could just be like, all right, I'm doing this thing and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a shot and see how awesome it could be or whatever. But like,
I'm
going to keep showing up to the gas station and I'm going to make sure that people are able to buy cigarettes and, 40 ounces and chips and peanuts and gasoline, so
it's the interaction with society that completes me as a human.
I hope you guys know I'll be at the Chevron station, still working there. They pay me like $8.25 an hour, so I feel like I should keep showing up. Get out of here.
But don't ask me for a loan.
Yeah, don't, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just a working job. I'm just a working guy like you.
That's a
He's all got
solid.
he's all got Rolexes on and stuff, and like getting robbed every week because the people come in just to rob him for his crap. You know, like, no, I don't want any money out of the till. Just give me your jewelry, guy.
Yeah, I'll have that bling. GRB's got a great idea for that dude. That he's traveling around the world. He could turn his plumbing for charity into a reality TV show and make a shit ton more money than his $1,000 a week. Actually, plumbers probably make a hell of a lot more than that if they're doing their job right.
Well, it depends. Depends. I mean, if you're like a plumber that works for somebody, you probably make, if you're working for somebody, you're probably making, 12 to 1,500 a week or something like that. It's, they don't make crazy money, but they don't make bad money either.
That's right. Yeah.
When you start to make good money is when you like own your own plumbing company and you just show up and do your own jobs.
Yeah. Lumpy Dog, how are you? Welcome back. Good to see you, Lumpy Dog.
Lee Wilcox says 28 million is a drop in the ocean. You can't help any community with that for long. Invent something useful, give it away for free with longevity. I mean, the reality is that, like, yes, $28 million isn't an endless supply of money, but it is an incredible amount of money to be able to be a jump off point for starting something.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the point that, like, with that kind of money, you could revitalize like a whole neighborhood pretty easily for a long period of time.
BJ Palmer asks what the metric equivalent of a shit ton is. It's approximately 4,500 kilograms, as opposed to a metric fuck ton, which is about 10,500 kilograms.
And nobody knows what a kilogram is, man.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I was listening to a guy on the radio yesterday that yesterday was what we call Australia Day down here.
We don't celebrate that. Yeah,
no,
I
don't think it's celebrated in many countries around the world apart from Australia. But it's basically a lot of people call it Invasion Day because it was basically the day when Whitey landed down here and took over the country and started doing, the same sort of shit that the American founding fathers did, and killing off the natives and bringing Jesus in and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And this guy was on Australia Day. They dish out all of these awards for people who've done good stuff. Mm-hmm. And this guy had a career in measurements, and he is way up high on the list of people around the world who organize the metric system and make sure that there's consistent, measurements of all sorts of things around the world. It was quite an interesting interview, and perhaps I haven't done it justice by my sarcastic facial expressions as I was explaining that.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of measurements around the world, and like there's a lot of history around it, and it's very, very interesting. And
it is, especially
I forget what God, I can't remember the YouTuber guy. I mean, he's a pretty big YouTuber dude. He does like science and kind of history and stuff like that. He's got like 3 million subs or something crazy like that. It's a pretty big channel, and he's really well put together. And he did a video recently, not that long ago, when like they didn't know how long a meter was, because the official meter measurement stick burned up in a fire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so, but they had like replicas of it or whatever, and then like they had to make a new one, and it was like this big argument, Parliament and Britain was like losing their minds and arguing about whether or not it was accurate. Just like, I don't know, man. Just make the like, God, does it have to be that difficult? But yeah, apparently, when your measuring stick literally gets burned up, then yeah, it could be a big problem. Could be a big problem.
Apparently, France was one of the first countries to take on the metric system. Going back quite some time, and then, God, I wish I'd paid more attention while I was listening to the interview yesterday. But there was some. It was all about taxes, apparently. That because they were measuring, cubits and stuff, but there was all these measurements were based on body parts, and obviously not everyone's body parts were the same. And the French, whoever was ruling, it might have even been in Napoleon's time, probably not that long ago. Not that long ago. But yeah, there was inconsistency, obviously, with people who were paying tax and who was taking tax, etc. And then there was some shit that went on, and then the French decided to lose the metric system, and I think Denmark was the only other country that was using it.
Right.
And so now the Danes claim that they were the first people to use the metric system because the France done pissed it off.
Right.
How did I get onto that? But yeah, that dude was an interesting chat, and yeah, they do have, as funny as it seems, they do have standards stored in a place. So
yeah, very sneakily.
Yeah,
stay away from our magical measuring stick. Don't touch it either.
There's an institute in a suburb of northern Sydney that holds a lot of those things for the for the whole world, and then there's another one in Europe somewhere. But it was just very, very interesting to, hear that this dude has invested his entire life into measurements and units. And he got, he was awarded an award on Australia Day. A lot of the awards they're related to.
Was it a very prestigious award?
Well, some of them are, but some of them they seem to throw around willy-nilly. So all sorts of idiots get them. Like, for example, there's a old Australian lady tennis player called Margaret Court. Don't know if probably Americans would remember her if they were old enough. I think she used to be Margaret Smith, and she became Margaret Smith Court, and now she's Margaret Court. But not too many years ago, she got a Officer of the Order of Australia award, which a lot of people kicked up a stink about. G'day, Aristotle. They kicked up a stink about it because she, after her tennis career, very successful tennis career, mind, she was a fantastic player. She became a Christian minister. I'm not sure which particular sect of Christianity she went into, but she had fairly atrocious views of anyone that wasn't a heterosexual human being, shall we say. So there was a fair bit of stink kicked up going back. I think it was about 10 years ago she got her first one, maybe not quite that long. And people were saying, she doesn't deserve this award because she's, sure, she was a great tennis player, but she's a little bit of a bigot. So potentially not the kind of person that you want to be associating with these awards. Anyway, I digress. This year's Australia Day celebrations, she got upped to a companion of the Order of Australia, which that's like, next level up sort of thing, one of the higher ranks in these ridiculous award systems.
You guys have that? You have some kind of award system? There's an award system?
Yeah. It's there's a couple.
You become like an earl.
Well, I guess it's kind of more just a kudos thing because there's no money or land title that goes with it or anything like that. It's just
I want a land title. That's what I want.
Yeah, me too. I'd like 7, thanks. But this year they decided to up her to what was the one I said before? Officer. Now she's a companion of the Order of Australia. And someone leaked the fact that she was, good night, Mrids. Thanks for hanging out. It got leaked out before the fact that she was going to have her rank promoted. And so we had people from the past that had received these honours giving back their awards, saying, no, I don't want to be associated with this system. And other people that were due to receive their awards yesterday deny them because they didn't want to be associated with an organisation that promotes this kind of bigotry.
Right.
But it was an interesting, crappy thing that happened. But yeah, Australia Day, it's a bone of contention in this country because, like I said earlier, it's supposed to be a celebration of the, initiation of this country, but it's also a somber day because it's when we took the country from our Aboriginal peoples, our First Nations people that were here before us. And there's so much grey area too, because a lot of the younger First Nations people, they take the angle that it's our country, Whitey invaded, all that sort of stuff. But then there's also this sort of more sensible middle ground where the actual First Nations people belief is that the country doesn't belong to us, we belong to the country. And if we can get all of Australians to actually understand that, then that's probably the best way to go for some kind of arbitration in between, because the Invasion Day and Australia Day are just polar opposite, but there's definitely some middle ground there that we can land on and have the best of both worlds for all Australian people, because Australians come from everywhere around the world. We're one of the most multicultural nations on the planet.
Right. Well, I am speaking to you from America. the melting pot.
Clearly we just followed America's template of multiculturalism.
or like sending the prisoners. Send us the prisoners, and we shall take over, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. It does like it does kind of hit home when you if you like actively think about whether all of the atrocities, whether they were on purpose or not, purposefully or not, it is an incredible. There's an incredible amount of darkness in the creation of pretty much all of the current, whichever state you're speaking of, whether it be Canada or America or, Britain or Netherlands or Germany or whatever, or Australia, they all, I've yet to find a country that doesn't have like a whole bunch of darkness in the past, So I think everybody on that level is sort of dealing with that same kind of echo of like, how do you come to terms with the history while being a person that really didn't really have any interaction with it, right? Because you didn't exist. And I think that's rough. There's a few people like in the States, talking about reparations and things like that. And I honestly, from a pragmatic standpoint, there was a promise made via the U.S. government. So I think we should make good on that from that standpoint. And then from the heart standpoint, I'm like, we should definitely be making strides to make up from the past deficits. Like, I think that's an honest standpoint. Like, whether people want to or not, I think is a big variance in feeling, right?
Yeah.
But I live in the Pacific Northwest, and we pretty much directly have a lot of contact with native reservations and things of that nature, and just from the native standpoint of how much damage was done to that society, like a sprawling society of millions and millions and millions of people and thousands of years of history and stuff. So it's something that I come in contact with on a regular basis where I live, because Washington State does have quite a few reservations still. And then, there's a lot of states that don't even have any, at all, so it's something that I regularly kind of think about, but.
Yeah. Like Craig Broderick says, it's impossible to fix the past, but unfortunately it's in a lot of humans' nature to dwell on the past and what's happened without, progressing and moving forward. But I suppose you can't move forward without acknowledging the past. So
that's the thing.
It's such a quandary for our simple, basic human brains to comprehend.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I don't think I'm going to personally correct all of the wrongs of America, or I don't think necessarily that something like reparations or whatever would just automatically heal all that stuff. But a lot of the actual American history is just kind of covered up. Like, it's just something that doesn't.
That's what I was going to say, is that education on all that stuff that happened is key.
Yeah.
As long as we allow people to learn about it. Oh, g'day, Jesse. How's it going? Because it's the same here. A lot of the atrocious shit that happened to our First Nations people are not taught in school, whereas they're really crucial things that happened in the development of our country. We should be told about. If we're taught about the world wars and bad shit that's happened to Whitey, we need to also be told about, the bad shit that happened to our Indigenous peoples as well, and that's for all countries around the world that have been colonized.
Yeah, and I mean one of the hard facts that is very difficult for most, I guess, white Americans to kind of understand, and I'm really generalizing if I say white Americans or whatever, but I think people get the gist. People that were just Americans, grew up in the American school system and whatnot, and you probably didn't learn a lot about it, but what was done to Native American children, where they were forced to go, they were taken away from their families and forced to go to school, and not allowed to speak their native language, and had to learn English and all that kind of crazy stuff. When you start to kind of look into that, it was, people were actively doing it, right? It wasn't just an offset. It wasn't just like smallpox, like they didn't know. Because you didn't really know that, we just gave everybody a deadly virus and they're all dying from it. Because, and you could say, well, we didn't really realize that was what was going to happen. And so it's like, I don't really put fault with that. But you start to talk about, the 1890s when, the indigenous kids were just kidnapped and brought to like white people school and, forced into that position. It's sort of like, that you have to think like you'd have to go way out of your way to do that now, right? Like,
Man, they were still doing it up until the 1960s down here.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, I mean, I think it was, up till about the 50s and stuff here, stuff like that. But a lot of that was around like the Second World War stuff and all that. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult to kind of like come to grips with some of that history. We just had Martin Luther King Jr. Day here, which, he's one of our civil rights heroes from the past, and, a lot of times that people kind of, they have this real characterization of Martin Luther King that he was like this sort of like peaceful Buddha guy, and that really wasn't what his what the story was, what the truth of like the history of like how that movement came to be, and finally, getting through and whatnot. And of course, like, he was murdered for it. Like, he was hated at the time. It wasn't like how people talk about him now, where he's just revered as like a hero. Like, almost all of America hated him, like, and then he was murdered for it, so which I can't really think of a bigger backlash to that's possible.
Do you think if in MLK's day social media was a thing, would the same shit have happened, or would we all have been woke humans by then?
I mean, it's really hard to say, because
has social media had that much of an impact on the way society advances now?
I think honestly it does. I think honestly it has a lot of impact, but we also, as a global society, as a global culture, as a global humans, whatever you want to refer to us, like humans in 2021, right? I think that there's a serious part of the population that is sort of lacking active critical thinking skills. Like, I don't think that we teach enough of that realistically.
Yeah, I agree.
To be able to like root through stories, or if somebody's talking to you or whatnot, it's very easy to just automatically lean towards what you agree with,
or what you were already thinking anyway.
Yeah, what you were already thinking about, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, mental processing should be a subject taught in primary school or elementary school.
Right.
They should teach kids from an early age how to process information that's piling into their face.
Right.
Because it's so easy for anyone nowadays exposed to shitty social media that I see this, it is real, it exists, that is the fact, without actually going, oh, that seems a little bit iffy, perhaps I'll look into that a wee bit more.
Right.
But
that's the thing is like there's a lot of stuff. There's definitely a lot of stuff to root through, and I often get like people get mad at me because I talk politics and stuff, but a lot of that has to do with it's contextual. It's like it's what's happening at the time, and those things, when legislation passes, that stuff is important to me, and I feel like it should be important to the average person, whether you're a fish keeper or an artist or a plumber or an accountant. Like, it doesn't really matter what your position is. Like, paying attention to that legislation should be an active thing that adults should be doing.
Yeah, you've got to appreciate and understand the impact it has on them.
Right. And maybe you don't need to listen to the media side of it. Maybe you just need to read the legislation itself, to hopefully get a better context of like what it is that could be going on. And maybe that is easier for people to kind of digest. but it's like those weird legislation moves are what kind of grants an opportunity for at least the potential of kind of correcting the past mistakes, whether they're last year or 100 years or 50 years or whatever. And like today I was listening to the what is it, the PPLC, whatever, the climate change consortium, which is like put together by the UN, basically the science
Paris
council.
Accord.
Yeah, well, it's the science council that came through to do the ice study, and I believe we've lost. I could be misquoting here, but I think it's 26 trillion tons or 27 trillion tons of ice has been lost. 27 trillion tons, right? So that's how much ice we've lost, and it's just like a continuing cycle. When we lose that ice, you lose like the reflective ability of the ice, which then creates more energy in the area, which makes more ice melting, which allows that radiation to hit our atmosphere, right? Which creates warming, and then it does all of the activity with that's happening. And it's like we're at a point right now with large groups of people that like they can't even take that scientific evidence that is just across the board, right, and digest it in a way and go like, okay, I can understand this study, I can understand this evidence, I can understand why everybody's coming to this conclusion, and yet it's super easy to go like, oh, but I heard this one guy said that it wasn't real, and I think that's
some people's minds are fickle enough that as soon as they hear one dissenting voice against hundreds of assenting voices, that's good enough for them. Right. I go, oh yeah, but this one dude said.
Yeah, and it's like, but you're oftentimes I find people are just kind of agreeing with that because that's the easier path, and it's like, oh, I found this one guy who said it was okay to do the easier thing, right? And that kind of sucks. And as John says, the added fresh water is also messing with the ocean currents. Yeah, and the temperature and the salinity and the acidification, and it's a compounding effect that will eventually start to run out of. It's just a freight train that'll eventually just continue to go out of control, right? Yeah. Like it's just going faster and faster and faster, and and yet, what are we doing about it?
Yeah.
And so we talk about things like politics, and that we have this this climate change effect that's going to affect everybody, and the previous two administrations to the last in the United States, like a big giant portion of the effort that was being done was to put the United States in a position of not being reliant on, we were basically energy. What is it like? What's the term for it? Basically, we were creating all of the gas and energy and everything here instead of importing it, right? So we were energy independent. And the reason for that independence was supposed to be so that we could take steps to move forward in doing things like solar and geothermal and wind and all that kind of stuff. And some, over the past 4 years, we've been we've basically just backtracked back and just let 4 years go by based on just like rhetoric, basically. And as somebody who is deeply invested in the environment like I am, like it's increasingly troubling to go like, not only could the planet be destroyed, but also like our basic livelihoods, which give us an opportunity to do things like just make fish tanks in our houses, right? Like the ability to be able to kind of like do those things could easily be wiped away without the ability to continue in the path that we're in now, right? With like working jobs and paying the mortgage and being able to live in the house and have the electricity and da 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 da. Like, you know, we are all living in sort of like a house of cards. And I'm like, you know, my thing is going like, okay, well, what happens in 10 years when things start to become super bleak? You know, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, just maintaining and growing enough potatoes becomes the most important thing that we're doing. And that's our future. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the right direction to be going. I don't know.
Well,
But
it's definitely a concern.
I
What
think
did
it's
I
concerning.
Michael Boulos saying Che, as in the Che Guevara, was a legend. He was a legend because he was a communist and killed lots of people.
Yeah, like Pol Pot is a legend.
Yeah, but I wonder. I've always wondered about these kids that get around with Che Guevara on T-shirts and stuff. If they realise that he was a communist and quite a nasty dude, or are they just going?
The problem is, like, I honestly don't think that the problem is the communism side of it. It's the authoritarian side of it that really muddies that up. And I'm not a communist myself.
It's definitely got its merits.
I mean, I understand the merit side of it because it's basically Star Trek, right? You're basically talking about Star Trek.
Oh, speaking of Star Trek, g'day, Paddy. I don't think I said g'day to Paddy Shatner yet.
Oh, there's
Sorry,
Paddy. But like, you know, you're basically talking about Star Trek. Is that like, you know, everybody's not for want because everybody is just living and working. But the one key element that kind of screws up the reality is that Star Trek basically has an endless supply of the human need commodity, right? Because they just go to the replicator for food and whatever they want, they just beam it around, you know, and all that kind of stuff, you know. And you know, from the basic side of, you know, being human and living on the earth, and actually you do have to do some work and stuff. Like that's just a reality of how things go.
Existence.
Right? And the unfortunate part with that is that, like, you know, there's yet to be like a communist example that I could easily point to and go, well, see, there's the successful part. And the unfortunate thing is that most often that form of governance typically comes along with authoritarianism, right? Is that a very small group of people have the power over everybody else, which is the problem we have right now under capitalism, right? So I don't think that that's necessarily like the direction that we should be going in. And I love I love talking to Australians because I feel like at the very least Australians, like, because at whatever point in time, like I don't know when it was, but you at least said, hey, everybody has to vote, you know. And I think personally that would do a lot to change how things look in the United States moving forward. If everybody was voting, right? That seems to be like the thing that I try to hammer home on a regular basis. Like, how are you going to make good with your past? How are you going to make good with moving forward? And I think that's probably going to be the biggest thing. And I don't know if there's necessarily room for that in most communist structures, right?
Yeah. I think it took a like in the bigger picture of history, it wasn't that long ago where it became compulsory for all Australians to vote, because
right.
I mean, I think the suffragette period was similar down here to America. I think it was the 20s or the 30s, or maybe even a little bit after, when women got the vote.
Right.
And then I think it was as late as the 60s or 70s when they even let Aboriginal people vote.
Right.
It was a case of they just wanted the, you know, the males and the influential people voting. But yeah, I'd be interested actually to discover. I might Google it on the sly when it became compulsory to vote in Australia. But yeah, definitely, it's a good system to have.
Yeah, I think the compulsory voting, I think, is, I think that's the reality. I think that's the reality of of kind of like what we have to kind of look at moving forward realistically. Is like hopefully something similar to that. Like maybe it's not compulsory, but maybe it's just easier for people to sign up, or maybe it's because like I live in Washington State where we vote by mail here, and that's like weird in the United States. I think there's only like 3 other states that do it the way that we do, but
Hello, Stephen the biologist. Welcome. Stephen the biologist says he's steering clear of the conversations.
Yeah, he's just stopping by to support you, which seems,
That's why I love you, Stephen the biologist.
Right.
Introduction of compulsory voting in Australia in 1924.
Wow, it's been around a long time.
It's a little bit interesting because I felt that that women got the right to vote well after that. And as I said, I'm sure it was 50s or 60s when Aboriginals got the vote.
Well, I know that women were allowed to vote in the United States in 1920. We just had the centennial. So 100 years women have been able to vote in the United States.
Yeah, I might have to investigate that more to find out all of those things. I'm also going to have to go and wrestle a crocodile and get a chilled beverage from my refrigerator. Hey, there's an interesting topic for conversation. How come the word refrigerator doesn't have a D, but the word fridge does?
It's pretty strong. Roland Ricky says persisting contrails can reduce the transfer of both incoming solar and outgoing infrared radiation, and so reduce the daily temperature range. I believe you're accurate in that, but I think also like the formulation of the contrails sort of like cancel that out. Like, so the amount of fuel used, but I could be wrong and would definitely like to look into that. Kaler's Aquatics is steering clear of Steven. Seems accurate. Wired just Wired. Oh, Wired? I bet that's weird. Just dawned on me the USA started falling apart when they let women start voting. Oh, that's ridiculous. I read that out loud. Plastics that have broken down will destroy all coral reefs and could change the cycle of fish. Whales, turtles are dying every day from plastic consumption. From John Larson. Yeah, microplastics is a monumental problem. There's I forget who was working on it. There's basically this raft. They've built this raft that is actually powered by just the waves floating around. That is actually passively collecting microplastics, which
I believe there are Australians that are doing that, aren't they?
It might be. I think it's multiple groups. When I heard them talking, they had wacky accents, and I think one of them was Australian, and I think one was like from the Netherlands, and I think one was from outer space. Who knows? But yeah, I forget who the group was, but it's like a passive. They basically have this raft, and it's just kind of powered by the waves. So the waves are keeping it going, and it's not really it's not doing anything. It's not using any energy or whatever, but it's collecting the microplastics. And the last I saw, it seemed to work quite well. The last experiment I saw with them was their latest kind of iteration of it, and it had worked out quite well, and they were very excited about producing more of them. So I think something like that is probably going to be the big deal. I think the unfortunate side of it is that, yes, we can collect the plastic, but we are reliant on finding a market for the plastic itself to be recycled. Because even if you do have all of this plastic, it's cheaper to make new plastic than it is to recycle the plastic, which is just astoundingly, like, it's just, it's one of those things where we go like, why are we still making that? If we know it's just a monumental problem, it's like, well, it's cheap and we have to, and people need to put the food in. It's like, okay, but like, can we focus for a minute on, making corn plastics or something that actually works, that's not actively destroying the planet? I think, and obviously I'm just a dumb guy, and I'll continue to pontificate on whatever it is that I can when I can, and maybe I accidentally inspire somebody to get hyper motivated that actually has some ideas. That's my goal, realistically, is like, I don't know, man, I'm just trying to have a conversation that might inspire somebody.
I believe there was a university in Australia that, I don't know whether they genetically engineered or modified, or if they just found a particular strain of an ocean shrimp that can actually digest and process shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
And Lee Wilcox also touches on the fact that scientists have developed a bacteria that eats plastic. But
yeah,
I have a strange feeling that the amount of plastic we've put out there as waste into the environment will need.
And that's the thing is that, like, the bacteria that eats plastic is great, but what happens if you release that bacteria, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could pass something out there that is actually worse than the current situation, right? So it does take a ton of research to find out if that's even going to be a viable method. Whereas we do know that, like, cleaning it up actually works, right? But cleaning it up's a pain in the ass, right? Whereas, like, if I just release this bacteria into the ocean, maybe it'll do the work for me. But the unfortunate side is like, what's that bacteria going to do once it's released?
What's it putting out of the pot?
Could lead to, like, real catastrophic failure. And especially if you're talking about the ocean, it's like most of our oxygen comes from the ocean.
Yeah. Thanks, Kenny. We'll see you soon, man.
We do get a lot of oxygen from rainforests and stuff like that, but it is by far and away the oceans that create the oxygen that we breathe, So what happens if that bacteria goes out and it screws with all of the algae that creates oxygen that we breathe? Problematic.
The food, right? Becomes a toxic chemical of some sort, or binds with something else in the environment in an absolutely ridiculous different way.
It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild here in America. Like, they recently released, I forget what the number is, but it's like millions of sterile mosquitoes, right? So they're releasing all of these mosquitoes that will mate with the females, but they won't make more mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And the idea is just to limit the population down, right? But does that create a failure in the mosquito population to the point where it collapses the mosquitoes, and then what happens, right?
And the domino effect.
I know a lot of people have been pretty excited about one way or another, and I know that there are certain people out there that are like, well, I'll be happy if there's no mosquitoes, but how far does that like wildly affect the food chain to the point where we could end up losing quite a bit that we maybe didn't think about ahead of time.
Yeah, there's a university mob down here as well that's doing a similar experiment with sterile mosquitoes as well, and talking about putting stuff into the environment to manage feral species. I know it was probably a year ago or more on this stream that I was talking about the feral carp in Australia.
Right.
And there's been this push for a long time to release a, what are they called? Cyprinid, I believe, herpes out into the world. It got put off for about 6 months, and they're still looking at about 6 months before they release this herpes into the environment because they are not quite convinced yet that the herpes won't infest other fish species.
Right.
Even though when they first started doing the study, they were absolutely 100% certain that this particular strain of herpes wouldn't affect any other species of fish apart from carp. But yeah, being that they keep pushing it back before release, I have a strange feeling that they're getting different results.
Is that how koalas got chlamydia?
No, I think that was from irresponsible humans and dodgy behavior. Yes, Patty, absolutely. Mosquito is an important food source. So even though they go, mosquitoes' populations are like a sine curve. They explode and then settle and then explode. Yeah, it could create a lot of problems because they are right down the bottom of a lot of food chains. Drink, Craig. Just getting a barrage of messages in all at once.
You getting hammered with messages?
Yeah, a few different ones. Without my son wants me to use my Amazon Prime account to buy him a mic boom stand for his studio.
Which one?
Audio Technica windscreen suspension microphone. Because he got himself a nice microphone, and I gave him an old timey standard old microphone stand, we used to use in the rock days with the boom arm on it, but his microphone's too heavy, so it knocks it over. So he wants one of those ones that G clamps onto the side of his desk sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they were considering that heavy condenser microphones would become the norm when they made those old mic stands.
Yeah, it's weird how they're the norm now, right?
Yeah.
This one right here is kind of pretty expensive in the States, but I don't know what it would be. What it would be priced in your neck of the woods. I'll just send it in the private chat, but I'll mention it. Gator Frameworks makes an awesome boom stand. Where the hell's what? Where am I? What did I do? Oh, there's that button. I need to go over here. Hold on. There. StreamYards. There we go. Boom. I'll post it in there. So Gator Frameworks make an awesome boom arm. It's even better than this one. Like I have a older Rode one, which actually is really kind of nice. But I don't think Rode is really like making them anymore. I'm not sure. Like I wanted to find another one to replace. And somebody recommended me to the Gator one, and it actually is like a fantastic mic stand. So I don't know, maybe take a look at it. I don't know how much it is in your neck of the woods, but it's like $120 here, so it's kind of expensive. But
yeah, the one he sent me is just under $50. Okay. It's interesting that you bring up the brand Rode. People say Nike for Nike. Why don't they say roadie for road?
You know,
I'm asking all the big questions.
let's see, O and I.
Roadie.
So if you have the E after, right?
That doesn't
So
work for Nike, though.
Nike.
Oh, okay. You're going with previous vowels effect
Right?
on the
So
subsequent letters.
the E affects the vowel to pronounce the letter as how you say it, right? O, road, Nike. Although I think Nike is like Japanese, so
no, it's Greek. She was Nike was
that's
the
right,
goddess of victory.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure the Greeks just called her Nike.
Who? You weren't alive.
Yeah, you know, I can speculate. It's in my skill set to speculate.
But I think, like, you know, if you have the E, you're supposed to say, right? Is that right? I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I was fishing for nonsense and waftiness.
It could be right, though. I don't know. I mean, hell, maybe I'll just say roadie from now on. Although roadie is spelled R-O-D-I-E, right?
R-O-A-D-I-E.
Oh, that's right, because you're on the road. Road.
Drink. Drink. That's 2 in a row there.
That's a double whammy.
I've forgotten who was drinking with my burps. Brothers, Craig Broderick. He's probably already passed out.
Probably, yeah. He's probably needs to seek medical attention at this point.
But you know, it kind of is a logical and sensible game to play. If we're having a beverage with Blacky, that every time I burp, you have a drink. That makes perfect sense. But yeah, I believe Brothers is already in the fetal position on his area rug in his lounge room.
He's probably asleep, yeah.
BJ Palmer's still doing the metric maths. Yeah, I've checked out a few conversion apps, BJ Palmer, and none of them seem to have the shit ton or the metric fuck ton listed in their units of measurement. So it's a very difficult one to get a conversion on.
They do have the hogshead in there, right?
What's a hogshead? About 7 kilos.
It's 145 gallons.
That's a big pig.
It's a big pig. It's a U.S. measurement still to this day. A hogshead.
Wow.
This is a big ass barrel.
Oh, speaking of weights too, I had a phone call 2 nights ago, I think it was, from my son saying that he removed a rather large snake from someone's laundry.
Yikes.
And he wanted me to go with him and release it into the wild so I could bask in the immensity of this creature. And it was nearly 3 meter long carpet python. It weighed very close to 10 kilos based on me just hefting the bag. It was a beast. It was like there's already a video on my channel where we relocated a 3 meter carpet python before, but this one was so much heavier, had a bigger head. It's ridiculous. It's a huge thing and so healthy, so healthy. No damage at all. No ticks or worms or anything. So I have a strange feeling that it potentially lived in that lady's house for quite a while without parasites or anything. And now here we go. We've removed it just so she can do some laundry. Goodness, who needs that many clean clothes?
That's a good point.
And yeah, now we've gone and put it in the wild and it's going to get ticks or get run over on the road or something.
Yeah, it'll probably get run over.
Well,
I mean, out of the 2 roads that you guys have down there, hopefully it'll avoid them.
Hopefully, yeah. But they're there's generally a few different reasons why I'm loath to relocate animals too far away from where they are. Oh, except for the two big massive possums that live in the roof above where I sleep at night. I'd like to relocate them into a hole in the ground.
Yeah, you guys have the cute possums, right?
Oh, we have so many possums.
But you have the cute ones.
We have some cute ones. We also have some that are just bastards.
Have you seen American possums?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nasty, bro.
They have like 54 teeth or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're nasty. They're pretty nice, though, honestly. But they're just like dirty, gnarly looking. And then you get close to them and they like, and then all of a sudden they freak out and freeze. They're idiots. And they're like gnarly and gross looking. I mean, they look like they've been just covered in shit and trash. I mean, they're pretty nice though, honestly. I mean, they just kind of lumbery around and then they like try to feign like they're tough. But if you have a pair of leather gloves, like welding gloves, you can just grab up on one and get them out of there. It's not a big deal.
That's crazy you say that, because I actually do have a pair of leather gloves, but I'm just really uncertain as to what I might do with these possums once they're in my hands. Probably.
Well, you can catch them with those. You can get them to come out with those live traps. They're like that big cage, and then they go in there to get the food, and the door drops down on them, and then you could take the cage and drive it out to the outback. The great outback. Steakhouse and drop them off.
I'm not sure if it's the same in New South Wales, but when I was working in Queensland, and the big shed that I used to work in was right on like a mangrovey creek, and there was heaps of possum life in all the trees and stuff, and lots of the possums would come into the shed and like sleep in the middle of a pallet full of rugs or something like that. And so quite often we'd get one of the wildlife rescue companies along to come and relocate them. And we were thinking, they're going to, they're going to take them kilometers away to a drink to somewhere away from us. But one of the people that came along and said to us, oh, no, if we relocate a possum, we can only relocate it 50 meters from where we catch it. That's approximately 61 yards.
Yeah, it's like 150 feet. But you could probably throw it that far.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why bother coming getting a...
Well, they do that here with raccoons.
Are they limited?
Like raccoons, you're supposed to catch them and release them where you caught them.
Shit, what's the point?
Yeah, and you're like, what? So, like, here's one of the screwed up things. Like, I was talking to one of the guys that does like pest control. I don't know what the hell you guys call him down there, but he's he's pest control guy. Yeah, I don't know, just some guy with a hat. Yeah. And I was like, well, what do you guys do with raccoons? And he said, like, well, the unfortunate thing is that you can catch them, but then you have to release them where you caught them. And so, which is just a big pile of garbage, realistically. And he was like, well, the one real trick is that you could not release them from where you caught them. You just leave them in the live trap. And I'm like, that's
a bit cruel.
Oh my God! What are you going to listen to a raccoon dying, starving to death for? Oh my God! There's no way. There's no way.
Leave it in a trap until it dies.
Yeah.
That's great coming from a wildlife person.
It's a reality of like trying to get raccoons out of people's attics or whatever on a regular basis, right?
I saw this. I mean,
he was
video.
he was like a really nice guy, but the pragmatic part is like you can't have raccoons living in your walls,
Yeah.
You have to come get them out, and then it's like, well, what do we do now that they're out? And he's like, the best thing you can do is like close up the building so that they don't get back in. But it's like, if you don't know how they got in, they're just going to get back in again. And then you're back out in the next week. And it's bonkers.
Yeah. It's a massive mission trying to possum proof your place down here. Yeah. That's one of my issues with, the possums in my roof are mountain brush-tail possums. So they're the largest species of possum in Australia.
Okay.
And one of them, it has chosen to make its bed directly above where my head is at night on my bed. So every time it rolls over, it's like someone's in the roof, thumping the roof, just because they're
around.
Just such big, heavy buggers. Yeah, it gets a bit tedious. That I'd really like it to be gone, but I take that one away. It's probably one of the dominant ones in the area. Then the next one's just going to move in anyway. So I've got to definitely make an attempt to go around and possum-proof the whole garage. But therein lies another one of my problems, is that I have carpet snakes that live in the roof of the garage as well. And they probably want to get out into the wild once in a while, go and find some water.
You get some carpet snakes and send them up for the possums.
Well, the possums are too big for the carpet snakes that I've got in my roof. My carpet snakes, I think there's one that's about 7 foot and one that's maybe 4 or 5 foot long. So the brush-tail possums, being the largest species of possum in Australia, a carpet python might strangle it and take it down and think it can eat it, but it'll end up in a little bit of a conundrum halfway through trying to eat it.
Right.
Plus, I think there's plenty of rats and mice in the shed that are keeping the pythons happy for now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw speaking of raccoons, I saw a video. It probably was viral enough that lots of people saw it.
Who the hell was buying merch the other day? What the hell?
From you.
Sorry, yeah. Somebody had bought a bunch of merch the other day.
But there was this dude.
Multiple people did. Oh, it's so weird. I always tell people not to buy merch. Then they occasionally do.
Well, it's reverse psychology is working, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. I feel like, I guess that people want it, so it's all good. But I don't know. I just feel weird about it. I feel really weird about it. I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I was kind of hoping that a lot more people would buy my Darth Vader shirts before they got pulled from sale. In returning to my raccoon story, I saw this video of a dude the other day sitting on his balcony, and he's got like 20 or 30 very fat raccoons hanging around, and he's just slinging hot dogs out to them, and they're all just waiting for their hot dog. That dude's in for some trouble when he doesn't have enough hot dogs to go around. There will be a raccoon revolt on his hands.
It shall be a revolt. Be a revolution.
Jace, Perth Cichlids, how are you, mate? Jace wants to see my tits as usual. Get at least 2 or 3 messages a day from Perth Cichlids asking for boob pics.
That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with, really.
I keep referring him to my OnlyFans page.
Speaking of merch.
Yeah, well, that's I think GRB was looking earlier for my Varth Data, which was my Darth Vader shirt link to promote, and I think it was within 2 or 3 days of me putting Varth Data up on Redbubble. Redbubble had removed it, because clearly I was using someone else's intellectual property to try and make money. So lucky I bought a couple of shirts off there before they pulled it down. But I'm not 100% certain whether it's still up on the Teespring or not. I may have to check that. But I know two people bought it off the Teespring store last week. Pardon me. Oh no, seems to still be available on Teespring. I'll chuck that link over. Yeah, but unfortunately for us Australians, because Redbubble is primarily an Australian company, yeah, now it's only available on Teespring. Obviously, Teespring a little bit laxer with the old copyright situation.
They don't mind as much.
Yeah,
they're pretty money hungry.
I found the funny thing with the Redbubble was that I put my 2 orders in, and then it would have been probably less than 10 hours later, I had the email saying that we have to pull this from sale because it's too similar to somebody else's intellectual property or some words to that effect.
Right.
But, you know, they were happy to take my profit and not forward my profit onto me, and I'm not 100% certain that they'll be sending that profit on to LucasArts. I think they're, you know, a little bit of a scam to net themselves a wee bit more money. But anyway, BJ Palmer, I think you bought one, didn't you? And one of our European friends, I think, was the other. Maybe Mickham, maybe got the other one. But yeah, still available on Teespring, surprisingly. But yeah, I've got one myself, and I gave the second one I bought to my younger son, who's also a bit of a Star Wars fan, on his 18th birthday, which was on Saturday.
Nice.
Saturday?
It's a grown man now.
Yeah, that's when you're a big boy.
A great big boy. You're a great big boy.
He still doesn't. It's funny. It's compulsory law in Australia to get access to a licensed drinking establishment that you provide photo ID. And he doesn't have any official photo ID, yet he's still getting let in to places with his birth certificate and a student card.
Oh. That's very odd.
And one pub he went to last night, I think he said, they just let him in on his birth certificate without even checking his photo ID, because one of his mates was in the line in front of him and had a birth certificate and a student ID. And then by the time my boy was there, he's like, oh, you kids really, really need to get your act together and get some proper photo ID.
Welcome to Australia.
It's too, like it's a half an hour drive to the nearest place where you can process a photo ID. So
I was trying to think. Somebody was so in the United States, you got to be 21 to drink, right? And I heard recently some people were debating about whether or not we should lower it to 18 like the rest of the world. And because I think like a big part of it was like there are some studies that show that you can pretty readily do damage between 18 and 21 drinking, but a lot of the drinking culture in the U.S. is like between 18 and 21. They just get hammered, man. Like kids just binge drinking, you know. So it's like I don't know that you're really staving off that stuff, but ours is 18 because, it went from 18 to 21 because of the highway deaths. Like there were so many. It like, you know, that was the reason. Yeah. which I don't know if that would carry over now if you were to do that now, but that was the main reason behind it.
We've had massive changes in our laws with regard to the youth and their driving and stuff. Our probationary license that you get between your learners and your full license,
right,
used to be 12 months, and now they've fleshed it out to 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Where even if you're legally of age to drink, if you're breath tested, drink your blood alcohol level must be 0,
right?
Whilst you're on your P license, and they've really cracked down on it. But yeah, still, the biggest age bracket for car accidents is 18 to 25-year-old males,
right?
And they do say that the human brain isn't fully developed until 25, so potentially we should raise the drinking and smoking age to 25, so those brains are all normal until
they've raised the smoking age in the U.S. just recently from 18 to 21. I think in a lot of states, or maybe even across the whole thing. I don't know. I would have to check. I know that I remember seeing that something passed about it.
It makes sense to have those limits line up,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess they passed a federal law, so that's everywhere now. You got to be 21.
Jesus, Stephen the biologist's son was recently almost killed by an underage drunk driver. Crikey, when I first read that, I just read was recently killed by an underage drunk driver. Thank goodness he's still kicking and breathing, Stephen. But yeah, it's crazy. People have, I guess it's part of the effects of alcohol, isn't it? That it gives you excessive confidence to do things that you shouldn't do, like take your shirt off in a live stream.
I think as long as your nipples aren't out, it's okay, right?
Yeah, I'll save the showing of my boobs and put them in a special message directly to Jason later with his request.
That's probably the best way to go. You get better tips that way. You get better tips with the the private dance, Yeah, the champagne room, right?
Not only is my OnlyFans going off, so is my Cameo. Actually, solid. Speaking of which, I've got a very interesting question, because we've touched on copyright claims and stuff in the last the last 2 streams. I think we've actually spoken about it,
right?
And I was intrigued as to YouTube operators get pinged for copyright for the smallest of things, but then you've got things like webcam, let's just call them webcam operators that do, sexual stuff and whatnot on the interwebs for people's viewing pleasure. Now, a lot of those will be playing other people's music in the background and stuff. We'll even take requests for songs and whatnot. My wonder is, are they getting copyright pinged like YouTube people do?
No, because that's a private stream.
How is it private if anyone can just sign in and watch it online? No different to YouTube.
Well, so like if you're talking about like OnlyFans or something like that, or whatever.
No, I'm just talking about like your websites that just run cam girls or cam boys. You don't even have to log in. You can go in and just watch someone dance naked, but they might be dancing to a Metallica song or something like that.
Well, I'm not sure what the specifics are with that. I I would say that you assuredly could definitely get a copyright claim. But like, most of those pages are like, people have to have an account, or you have to like be a member or whatever. There's some kind of paywall for you to get onto those streams. As far as I know, obviously there must be free stuff that people are just doing whatever. But if you're doing something for free, then you're kind of just using that content. You're not making any money. So like you could play like Metallica on YouTube or whatever, but that you can't monetize that video, and you might get a copyright claim from the person that owns the copyright.
Yeah,
so like if you do a live stream and just play like Metallica the whole time, that like Metallica's the automated system will find that music and then claim any of the profits off of it, depending on what they want to do as far as the copyright claims go. But if you get a strike, you are, you're running the risk of just losing your channel altogether. You get 3 strikes and you're out. If you get 2 strikes, you're on thin ice, because the next one you get, you're done. So, but that's YouTube. That's YouTube specific, right? And the problem is that like you can watch like somebody's thing, and you can it can be considered like transformative. Like if you were watching like, so if I watch this live stream, right, on my live stream, and then I was basically critiquing it, that's a method that would like make it transformative into my art, right? Which I'd be like, because I'm doing a critique of this art. So that's basically what people are looking for. But that's like a really slippery slope of people, putting in a copyright claim on what you're doing, because you're basically just piggybacking on the fame of something that could be very popular, that somebody put a lot of work and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I just don't mess with that at all. Because while it might be like beneficial to try and do that, it seems disingenuous to like, do the, I'm going to critique someone else's video or something. Hey, babe. Because you are just like, glomming onto somebody else's work and then being like, well, this is my work, where I just say that this sucks, But there is, I mean, I can see where there's value there, because if I upload like a talking head video that is like 40 minutes long of a dissertation on, the economic struggles of people in Alabama or whatever, right? Like, really the only way to like kind of have a conversation with somebody else in regards to the thing that they posted up like that, it basically is one of the only ways to do it, is to actually review it step by step and then be like, well, here's my points back to it. Nowadays, like when YouTube started, you used to be able to video respond to somebody's video. It actually was pretty much my favorite thing that YouTube had ever done. Was, so like if I posted a video that said, Blacky sucks and here's why, blah, blah, blah. Like you could literally make a video and post it in the comments down below that video. Like your rebuttal could just like straight up be in the comments down there, like F you, dude, blah, 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 and that was one of my favorite things about YouTube, but that literally got abused so rampantly, so quickly, and so impossible to, keep track of and whatnot. Like they had to get rid of it,
Oh, hang on. I've really got to disappear for a second. I'll be back. Keep that thought in your mind.
Yeah. But I forget who did somebody did like a really in-depth copyright claim video. What's his name? Let me see if I can't find it in my history, because I watched it like maybe 6 months ago. Copyright claim versus copyright strike. Maybe that will get it. No, that's got some nonsense. That's got some nonsense. I don't know what that is. Let's see, like copyright law on YouTube. He did a really good breakdown of it. Here it is. Tom Scott did a really good 10 months ago. So it was quite a while ago I watched it. How do I... Why isn't there a share button on the little 3 buttons? Like, why can't I do that? I literally have to like go in here.
They changed all that about 6 months ago.
It's just so stupid. Like, I
want to even go to someone else's channel for most dots now.
What's up, babe? You got a rug? Is it tying the room together? Yeah, like on the Big Lebowski. Yeah. The rug pissers, Donnie. Really tied the room together. Here, so this Tom Scott video, I'll post it in our chat so that you can see it, and then I'll post it in the main chat in case anybody. It's a really lengthy breakdown of like how YouTube addresses the copyright claims and where you could be right or wrong or any of that kind of stuff about like your interpretation. It is a really good job of it. And I think it's like 45 minutes long or something like that. So it goes pretty in depth into, like all the questions that people could have and like how to address all that kind of stuff. But it's a weird situation. And the easiest way to explain it is like, if it's not yours and you don't have the license to use it, I just don't use it. Like, it's just incredibly, I mean, even at this point, like I've had my channel, well, my main channel, I have other channels too, but like my main channel, the Corvus Oskin channel, like I've had it for so long that like it's just not even worth the risk. Now I do have licensed music that I can use through Artlist, which costs like $300 a year, but I do use a lot of the music off of there, so I feel like there definitely is value, plus the sound effects and all that kind of stuff that's on there.
Good night, Zip Gun, and hello, still in ya. And someone else.
The weird thing is like Artlist, you're probably not going to see any famous songs. So that's the thing that kind of blows. Like, you're not going to be able to have like a Rolling Stones intro that really like hooks a ton of people. Like,
yeah,
if you play the intro to I see a red door and I want to paint it black, right? Like, everybody knows the intro to that song. Yeah, so it's like it hooks anybody that clicks into that video. But the licensing it would cost probably like $10,000 or something crazy. And, there's no way I could ever afford that. So.
G'day, IHSP and Gina French. How are we? Welcome. Yeah, no, I found it interesting because, channels like mine that, I don't make any money on, nor will I anytime soon. I've had several copyright pings, but there's these webcam humans out there that are making, a shit ton of money compared to many, many YouTube channels. But I strongly doubt that they're getting hassled about using other people's music.
Well, like Twitch. So Twitch has different rules, right? But they're really cracking down on it now. So definitely in the past, like Twitch has not had the DMCA claims, is what they call it on Twitch. But that's basically a copyright strike. And as those websites grow, they will become more evident that that's what's going on. And the problem is that like if the creator, like depending on like the terms of service, like the creator will get hit with like a gigantic copyright claim. and it like you're really just kind of treading on crazy thin ice to make a couple $100 realistically. I mean, let's be honest. If somebody's getting, let's say they're getting $5 a minute worth of donations over an hour is like $300. If they're transferring it via an electronic account, like you better be paying taxes on that. You'll get hammered if you're not paying the taxes on that. You will get crushed if you don't pay your taxes on that. But you take basically a third out of that, so they're probably making $200. And then just imagine if you're, if you get exposed and then Metallica is like, "Hey, we want our money," and they hit you with a $10,000 deal that you have to go to court to argue. Like, what are you going to do, like, as somebody who's making stuff? And so I think on my end is I'm just like, dude, if I don't have the license to use it, I just don't, just because it's so sketchy. It's so sketchy to make like a couple $100. And then if you have to defend yourself in court, I mean, lawyers charge like $500 an hour or something.
Yeah, and
number, that's probably a crappy lawyer, that doesn't even know copyright law. Now, like in the past, like, so in that Tom Scott video, one of the things that he explains is that, like, in the past, if you were making a movie with MGM or something, right, and then you used a song in your thing, like, that production company would typically have some copyright lawyers or whatever, right, that would talk to the copyright lawyers from Metallica, right? And they would figure out, okay, well, maybe we use this inappropriately. Okay, we're going to pay you guys $1,500 or something, or figure out whatever it is, argue it. And the person that created it would never see that, or they would go ahead and get the licensing ahead of time, and you would never even know that would ever have happened. But nowadays, you have like independent people that are just playing, Metallica tracks, and you're like, you're really doing something that could get you into a lot of trouble. They're not going to put you in jail, but financially you could be really screwed, like you could just get really, 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 really screwed. And so, I mean, it's just that, if you didn't make it, or if you don't have the license, I just wouldn't do it. Like,
yeah, well, that Metallica was certainly the band in question that raised the thoughts for me, because when I was researching this the other day, and this particular lady, she took a request for Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, and she did a little dance, as they do to the song. But during the duration of the song, she received a lot of tips and would have made a considerable amount of money for dudes sending her a wee bit of money just for dancing to a song that they liked. And I was thinking that if Metallica knew about that, they'd want their cut. And then
it's not even that. It's more the record label. The record label paid for the licensing and stuff, and they hold that license. And I mean,
it's a real dicey area.
I don't know what the websites are, so I can't really like specifically say what it is. But like in the United States, I forget what the specific legal terminology is that, like, the websites aren't liable for your misuse of other people's content, basically, right? So, like, if you threaten other people, or you use somebody else's license, copyright license or something like that, like, you're the one that's liable, not the host website. So that's basically what it boils down to. Like, that's how the law is in the US, is that, like, the person doing the thing is liable, and not the host of the website itself, right?
Kragos, I did just say I was there for research purposes.
Well, it's research and development. Yeah, R&D.
Development. development, eh? Eh?
That's right. Yeah.
Foxy, how are you, Foxy? Welcome. If I've missed anyone else.
I mean, but the reality of that whole situation is like, who am I to say when consenting adults, man? I don't give a rat's ass what people are doing. And watching ladies dance and tipping them seems pretty, like, who cares? I mean, we got 2 million people in prison. It seems way more egregious to me than people dancing and getting tipped for it. I don't care.
Drink. So, must be almost time to talk TV.
What's that?
I said it must be almost time to talk TV.
We probably should. What do we got going? What do we got coming down the pipe? We've been watching the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the new one.
I did dive into a couple of episodes of that. I think I got maybe 6 episodes in, and I haven't gone back to it because, there's so much stuff to watch.
There's a billion things. There's a billion things now.
So it is often a...
Why can't I get hired by one of these places to make a goddamn show?
Yeah, everyone else has got a show. Jeez.
Oh, God. Oh,
yeah. With respect to GRB's comment that I put up on screen, and now I can't find to remove it. GRB, there was a few occasions where I very, 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 very poorly played cover songs on my acoustic guitar of other people's music, and I got copyright claims against it.
Yeah, you will get smushed on it, man. That's the thing, dude. Like, it's the robots that are figuring it out. It's not a person. That's one of the things that I think a lot of people are confused by, and I'm not saying that you are specifically confused by it, so let's keep that clear. But I think a lot of people are confused that, like, well, why do the Rolling Stones care if I play their song or not? And it's not. It's not a person. It's not. It's being identified by an algorithm that listens to the sounds and then ties them in. And by the way, what the hell was that app that you would hold up and listen to a song?
Oh, Shazam?
Yeah, Shazam. Like, by the way, you all are at fault for training that program to work so well. Okay? Like, the people that thought that app was rad and then used it a billion times, well, that's why it's so good now. Because they used y'all as the beta testers, and now it works wicked good.
And what wasn't that the deep dark joke behind Silicon Valley, the TV show?
What about it?
Because the whatever Richard Thomas Middleditch's character, he developed an audio algorithm or something that ended up being better.
No, he developed the compression algorithm, is what he did. He figured out the compression, and then I can't remember the end what happened, but it was a gigantic disaster. He basically created the thing that the government uses to just screw everybody in all the orifices.
Yeah, I think I only watched the first 2 seasons, and I might have to go.
It's a brilliant show. I do have to tell you, it's a brilliant show. I just
it's very well done.
I think I watched the last season so rapidly, it didn't fully set in my head. But it's definitely one that could easily be rewatched. I think it's that good. It was really well done.
Yeah, I still have to go back and watch the rest of that.
I think it would be never mind. I think it would be hard to rewatch if you binge watch all of the seasons like that, because there's a lot of letdowns. There's a lot of almost wins and like serious letdowns.
Hello, Teresa Childress or Childress. What kind of doctor am I? Well, I'm going to open that question up to the room, and I'd like to see everyone's opinion of what sort of doctor I am. 2 Dougs, I believe, is saying that I'm a pea doctor. But yeah, Dr. Acula. I started watching the new stuff of American Gods. Neil Gaiman, author of very good show. First 2 seasons were fantastic, and so far, third season has been quite good as well. I think there's 3 episodes out there already, and
I want to wait for the whole season to come out.
Yeah, see, there's certain shows like I was saying last week about WandaVision,
right?
That's definitely one that would be worth waiting for all of them because they're only tiny little episodes. But
right.
a show that has 45-minute to an hour episodes, I'm kind of more of the idea that it's good to have a week in between just to absorb and process what you've learned in that show. But obviously that can be negated by depending on how deep or profound a show might be, how much thinking that show expects you to do.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a pretty simple show, then you're not going to need a whole week to process it. But yeah, sometimes shows, it's fraught with risk to just slam them out in quick succession.
Yeah, I mean, I like the binge because we don't ever watch. I mean, like we rarely, if ever, watch more. Like we might watch 2 episodes a night, right? But we typically would watch 1 episode of something, unless it's like a 22-minute or something like that. Like if it's like that short, less than a half an hour, we probably would watch 2, about 2 an hour. But like if you're talking about like a 48-minute episode or something close to an hour, like we'll watch 1 episode a night and then be like, okay, tomorrow we'll watch the next one. So we rarely, if ever, watch in that rapid succession, like just we're gonna watch 6 episodes in a row. That's like super rare here, but it's super hard for us because like we'll watch an episode and then we kind of get into a rhythm of like watching an episode each night, and then it's hard to like come back a week later and be like, let's watch the next one. Like, wait, what? But we were watching the thing with the guy with the karate. Like, what happened to that? Like, we're on episode 6 and we're gonna have to watch that one, and then so it does kind of work out a little bit better in our favor if we can like wait till the whole season is out and then watch them like 10 days in a row or whatever.
Yeah, sure. Sensible.
It's pretty bitchin'. I don't know. I mean, it's a thing, and
getting plenty of solid versions of doctors that I might be. The Naked Doctor, Doctor of Strippers, not a doctor, not black and not 66, a witch doctor.
Dr. Tight Pants.
I like Dr. Tight Pants. Thank you, Jesse.
These trousers.
My eyes are up here, Jesse.
Yeah. Hey, focus.
A doctor that loves to give rectal exam. Well, I don't know if Stillinger's saying that from experience, but the amount of proctological examinations I've given, I start to lose a memory of the faces because you don't really look at the faces when you're doing proctology.
That's true. You're more around the back end,
Yeah. I remember a lot of people from the back of their head and the way their hair lies.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. 2P, see me. But anyway, I'm what's Dr. Bryant? Anyway, I don't think I'm going to expose myself to the world and tell people what I've actually got my doctorate in, because if I do that, then people will learn where I live and stuff.
They'll start to track you down.
They'll start sending me things in the post. Potentially proctological things.
Examination kits.
Yeah, I don't need samples of stool in my post, thanks. There's enough shit in my mailbox already.
True. Very true.
What else did I've still been doing a deep dive into movies made from Star Wars video games.
Right.
Erroneously, perhaps, I started watching what is it called? Star Wars: The Old Republic. It was a MMORPG, whatever that stands for. Stephen's out of here. Good night, Stephen. Fingers crossed and good luck with your son, mate. I hope he comes good soon. Good to hear he's on the mend. What was I saying? Oh yeah, these I'm a bit confused about how these ones play out, because if it's a it's a massive. What is it? Come on, someone tell me. Massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Is that what it is?
The MMORPG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm confused how they get these storylines out of something where there's only seemingly a couple of game players or one game player. So potentially there is a storyline aspect to it. But there's like at least 5 episodes, maybe even 6 episodes of The Old Republic, and they're like 5.5, 6 hours long each.
Yeah. Well, it's like Red versus Blue. You just use the characters to move around and do stuff.
Yeah, but this is definitely very heavy storyline stuff. But yeah, set almost 3,500 years before the Battle of Yavin. So episode 4 timeline. So a long time ago. Gotcha. Stephen, the biologist, is Dr. Bryant. I gotcha.
Right.
So long time ago. What I think is interesting is that all of the technology seems to be the same. So have they maxed out their technology some 5,000 years ago and nothing got better or anything?
Yeah, well, they actually mentioned it quite a few times. In even just the movies, they mentioned that like the old tech that they're using, like there haven't really been that many advancements in the tech that they're using. Like even in the Mandalorian, like he actually has that disruptor rifle, and like nobody has the disruptor rifles because they got outlawed a long time ago, and there's only like a couple of them left. Realistically, I mean, when I say a couple, I mean they're, who knows what the count is, but they aren't making them anymore because they're outlawed. So he actually just has like an old relic that, he just got his hands on. So, and there's quite a few mentions in there that like they basically are still just using the old tech. Like they're not, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but I get that it's kind of like vibing on that. Like, we've lost a lot of the information that came before us. Which like could be attributed to sort of, if you think about it, like the pyramids and stuff on Earth, right? Like there clearly was some forms of technology previous to us that we have just lost the ability to utilize, right? And so I've actually, man, I talk to Vicky about this all the time because we go hiking out in wacky areas that haven't been inhabited in like 100 years. And, you'll find like, really rusted out metal objects where you kind of are like, this looks like maybe this was a wheel off some kind of pulley or something that went to something, but I don't really know what it went to. And 100 years from now, it'll probably be just gone. Like, that's how rusted out it is, right? So, like even on Earth, we have like examples of that, which technology that was just completely lost that we don't. I mean, you go look at the hieroglyphs and all that kind of stuff, and just look at the advanced building techniques and stuff that they were using. It's pretty clear that they had some kind of grasp on something that didn't carry on, right?
They had a grasp on a lot of things except for how to record information for the future.
Well, that's a funny point, because like Vicky and I talk about that a lot. Whereas like, so I have like 1,000 YouTube videos, right? If there's no internet or way to access the internet, it doesn't exist. Like I have SD cards and stuff like that, but if this building fell down in 50 years and then 50 years goes by after that, and then another 50 years goes by, like no one would know how to access the information that's here, right? So you think like, oh, maybe there was a form of storage and it's just gone. Like, or maybe we don't recognize it as a thing of storage, or, maybe they figured out vinyl records and then they recorded everything on vinyl records, and then those just got buried in the dirt and then they're gone, like they just don't exist anymore. So
maybe you have to touch a rock in a particular way and it presents all of this information.
Or something. It's like, well, no, I mean, like if I gave you this, right? If I gave you an SD card and you like didn't have a piece of technology to stick it into to access the information, you'd be like, oh, it's like a little doodad thing, whatever. And then if you go and throw this in the dirt 100 years later, it's like just some pieces of copper and stuff that's all broken down, or even 1,000 years. Like the earth just kind of grows back over stuff, big time. And like with the crazy like aerial LiDAR stuff that they're doing now in South America, they found like these vast city structures that are down and they're just in the rainforest. So it's like, as a person, you just look at the rainforest and go like, there's a buttload of trees over there, guys. I don't know. Fucking trees, dude. I don't know.
There's a buttload of history underneath them yet to be exposed.
Yeah. But it turns out there's just vast cities that were there. But then you start to find out that stuff from, this aerial LiDAR that's looking down and going like, okay, well, we're scanning the ground and there's just all these crazy structures all over the place and stuff. And so you think like, if those cities were there 1,000 years ago and some kind of famine or disease or something came through and killed them all off, like, let's say I raised Olivia in, like, let's say the power grid went out and there was no power and some kind of apocalyptic event or something like that. And I just raised Olivia and I just explained to her that there was a thing called a cell phone. And, we plugged it in and, you could access it, and then you could like call people, and you could stick it up to your head, and then you could talk to people that were really far away. And then, but it had like pictures on it, and then you could like look at it and you could touch it and you could do all this stuff. And then you could like ask it questions like, hey, I mean, I don't want to do the, hey, Siri thing. Right. But, you could ask it questions, and then it would tell you the answers, and then you needed directions, and then it would give you directions like where you needed to go. But like if you had to like replicate a cell phone out of even the basically like advanced tools that like I have here, right? Like I could build you a house, but I wouldn't know what the hell to do to make you a cell phone. Like, and even though I understand most of the components and I understand some of the software or whatever, to actually create this technology in order to pass on the specific information that is in it, it just doesn't, like, I don't know how to do that. And then let's say that I did somehow crazily pull off making a cell phone, there would be no cell phone towers. Like the internet wouldn't be able to access anything off the internet. Like that wouldn't exist. And then all that information would essentially just be lost, because even if you had a hard copy of it, like this SD card, right? Like you wouldn't have any way to formally access it. And maybe you did for about 50 years, but then you die off and your kid explains to their kid that, oh, grandpa had a thing that, you know, he could like poke it and he could touch it and he could like do stuff with it. And then it would tell him directions and it would give him pictures and he would do all this stuff. But then it's like, but what's a picture? Right. Like if you literally went back and talked, if you went back in time and talked to somebody in 1985 and you said, hey man, let's watch video
on the telephone.
People would be like, what's video? What? You know, like they wouldn't know what the hell you were talking about, because there was TV and then there was film, and then you know, video killed the radio star, right? Like video was introduced, but you know, okay, maybe 1980 or maybe 1977 or something, but you know, like people wouldn't know what the hell you were talking about. Like, oh, I'm just going to record stuff at my house. Like, what? You can't record things at your house, you know.
Sorry, Cragos. Swim well. See you soon.
So, swim. I mean, that's kind of the weird thing, is that like if you just go through like a couple of generations of loss of that ability to access the information that you have, then it's just people telling rumors to each other about what's going on. Then the rumors are rumors of the rumors, and it's like, oh yeah, great grandpa, he was a god and he had wizard powers, and he could just ask the air where to go, and then the air would tell him where to go, you know, and he knew how to talk to the other gods, and the gods would help him with information, you know. And it's like, it's so easy for it's so easy to like be in our position and go like, well, that's just stupid. That stupid people would do that. But you know, like build a cell phone from scratch right now and have it actually work, you know, like you might be able to draw a picture of it. Well, like there's transistors go over this way to some transistors, and that went to the processing CPU. Wait, guys, we need to make a processing CPU out of dirt and stick.
Ultimately, most people are going to end up with 2 hollowed out acorns and some string, aren't they?
Right.
Because you can't make tin cans without technology.
Well, and it's like we sent that gold disc, that gold record into space.
Yeah, like Lee mentioned.
Like how the hell would any aliens even know how to like read this gold disc? You just threw a gold disc into space, and it's like, yeah, well, those aliens are wicked smart. They'll understand. Or it will just like land on their planet and burn up on entry, and they would just be like, oh, that was weird. There was a weird light. Oh, well, I guess an asteroid entered our atmosphere and burned up.
That sounded like some music while it burned up. Yeah, that's like what Lee said. They didn't even send a turntable or an instruction manual with it.
Well, I mean, you know, that's just like kind of one of those things where you're like, you know, you see like all these ancient structures and stuff like that, and those people were generally, you know, I mean, even if you go back like 5,000 years, those people were basically as intelligent as we are. They might have been malnourished and poorly educated and whatnot, but they maintained the base amount of intelligence that we did too, you know, and they were crafty and they were smart and they did all sorts of wacky stuff and believed all sorts of weirdo things, but that was the way of the time, you know. Like if weird stuff kept happening and you had no basis of like scientific discovery and evidence and you know, conjecture from other people of like, well, this is gravity and this is how gravitational forces work or whatever, like, and somebody was just like, well, it's ghosts and wizards, you'd be like, yeah, I mean, everybody else says it's ghosts and wizards, and I think we could probably just I can see the ghostly wizard nonsense happening, so I might as well just agree with those dudes. Like, why would I argue with them? You know, like it's not going to necessarily benefit the person to really realistically argue that the ghost wizard stuff going on. Like, no, it isn't. You know, like, okay, well, prove it. And they're like, okay, let me do some elaborate experiments to prove it, and then everybody else just questions it, you know. And even the point that we're at right now, like people don't even believe that climate change is happening, you know, because they're like, well, I'm being skeptical. And it's like, yeah, but you're being skeptical because you have heat in your house and never have want for food, you know, like you just have food, you know, and you're in a very much in a position where like you could just be skeptical and your life doesn't change at all. Like there's no change to your life. Like you don't have to do anything. You just I know a thing that nobody else knows. It actually is just ghosts, guys. You know, and you're like, okay, well, I guess you know something that no one else does. Oh, aren't you a unique snowflake? Awesome.
IHSP, no, I am Australian and I live in the Australia. But why do you really hope that I don't live in the US? Maybe I want to go and live there one day. Am I going to get in trouble?
What's going on with Steve?
I don't know. We don't mind awkwardness. If you guys need to air some grievance or something, let's talk it out. Let's get through it, people.
IHSP's Tank Tribe says, I really hope you don't live in the US. Huh. I don't know. I'm confused by the chat right now. Why is everybody being weird?
There was a little bit of backwards and forwards going between Teresa saying some stuff about, I don't know whether she's referring back to the doctor stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It got weird.
Let's clear it up, people. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused.
BJ says IHSP is handling it.
Okay.
As well as telling me to come on over to the US, that he's sure I'll enjoy it.
I mean, there's much enjoyment to be had in the United States. The United States has a lot of good qualities, that's for sure. 100%. Rockford's Fish Keeping says people born in the U.S. don't want to live here anymore. Well, I mean, I think that's a true statement. There's like 350 million people here, so yes, I'm sure there are some that generally.
It's a fairly massive generalization, isn't it?
Yeah.
I reckon there'd be more than half of the people that live in the States that still dearly love living in the US.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think potentially that statement should start with a some people born in the US. A drink. Oh, hang on. Brothers is in the pool. He can't even hear the burps anymore. I'll have to save him up. There's another one.
It's contagious. I'm burping too.
It's like yawning. Yawning's contagious.
That's true.
Apparently, it's because
dressing to dry slaw. That's a good point.
What was that one?
I mean, Patty was wondering, can't you just add more dressing to dry slaw? Now, you can, but like as a classically trained chef, it is not the best idea. If you have a missed opportunity with dressing a slaw, your best opportunity would be to either increase the acidity or add a little extra salt. You don't want to redress a slaw. It's pretty much your initial application is how you did it. Okay. You could season, or you could add some acidity via lemon juice, vinegar, lime juice, whatever acidic thing you wanted to add. But you could go salt and acidity, but you can't just add more dressing like a rube. You can't. You can't do that. You've lost all integrity as a human, as a chef. It's just all across the board.
More inclined to go the salt avenue. Add salt to a dry slaw.
Yeah, you can add some salt. That'll help break it down a little bit.
Yeah,
bring out the dressing, but you can't just add more dressing. That's a big time no. Bob Kaler's wondering about them Jets. The Jets are terrible. Hopefully they do better next year. I wonder if did they pick somebody up? New York Jets. Let's see. They make an acquisition. It looks like they're gonna trade Sam Darnold, their quarterback. Might be seemingly what they're up to.
What's my Amazon? Why does Amazon require a password when I'm on friggin' Amazon every day?
I don't know why they would trade Sam Darnold. That seems like a really weird thing to do, but I don't know. I guess maybe New York doesn't like him. I don't know. What do you got? Sorry, I got distracted by the Jets.
I would assume that I'm logging into Prime Video every single day to watch televisual broadcasts and stuff, but as soon as I go on there to try and purchase a product, it wants me to sign in. Aren't they just the one company?
It started.
How am I expected to remember all of these passwords?
I don't know. It drives me nuts. It started doing that to me a while ago with Amazon. It was like, hey, sign in, buddy. And I'm like, why? Why do I keep having to sign in? What the hell is going on here, dude? I'm like, I'm on my computer, dude. What do you want? What do you want from me?
Yeah. God. It's almost
crikey.
Like it's almost like we have to have the same.
Do you give him a crikey?
It should be my password. Crikey 66. It's
they said like John Larson says they will draft.
So don't go logging into my stuff.
Well, John Larson says they'll draft a new quarterback to save money for 4 years, but I thought Sam Darnold was like, isn't he only in his second year? I think he's like 23 or something, right? Or old. How do you spell this guy's name?
Speaking of,
I mean, he's 23 years old. Was he in his like second season?
Well, if Tom Brady's anything to go by, a kid's got at least 20 years left in his career, isn't it?
Oh, I guess maybe he might be in his third year because 2018 is when he joined the Jets. What year is he in? Hold on. He should be on his. I mean, he should be on his original contract, right? Like his rookie contract. I don't know. Sorry, it's football nonsense.
Well, it even made the news down here that Tom Brady's off to his 7th Super Bowl as a.
Well, Tom Brady's he's a billion years old, and
yeah,
I didn't like that. I would have much rather have seen Green Bay go with Aaron Rodgers, but that game was a real clunker. That was a clunker of a game. I got to admit, the Green Bay football Packers did not play well. They did not play well.
The Packers are the team that I always say I support when people say, what team do you support in the football? But I don't really watch it or know much about it. But I'm a Packers fan through and through.
You go with the Cheeseheads?
The Cheesehead, yeah. But that's not the reason why I supported them. I liked the fact that they had Packers in their name.
They're the one socialist football team.
Oh, now I've got a second reason to enjoy their football.
They are owned by everybody in the city, basically. It's like the ownership is a conglomerate. Like everybody owns shares in that team. I think they have overall ownership, though, that keeps an eye on the electric bill and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good that football can bring unity to. Oh, hang on. They put the unity in community.
That's right.
Hey, hey.
Bringing it together.
Put that on a shirt, somebody. I have a feeling that it'd lose its impact when printed upon the chest of a t-shirt.
It might not work out, but you could actually print that, and it's likely not going to get a copyright infringement.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
And
all right,
on that,
buddy, my
jump
alarm's
to the
going off.
Teespring. Get your Vaft Data t-shirts from my Teespring because I've already been pulled from Redbubble.
You better get them quickly while they're hot and fresh. All right, I got my alarm going off. I gotta go to bed and get up at 3. It's 10 o'clock. So
all right, I might split too. So let's just do the daily double and fuck off together.
you got it.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. Thanks Corvus for chatting and stuff. I know we did that bit like half an hour ago where we said let's talk about TV, and then we did like 3.5 minutes on TV, and then we digressed.
Yeah, we'll be back.
It's what we do. We're the digressors.
That's right.
All right, everyone, take care. See yous when we're looking at yous. Have a good week. And, behave. Look after each other. Do what the government tells you regarding health and stuff, unless you're a rebel. All that good stuff. Be good. Quick flash before I go. Nah. Go to my OnlyFans for that, Jace. You know that. One of my only subscribers to my OnlyFans. Oh, lucky you put that timestamp in, Lee, so you can go back and catch up from where you're up to. Welcome to the new names as well. Hope you're back next week. We'll be back for more joy and fun and wafty nonsense, as is usually the case. And remember, you can't spell community without unity, and you can't spell slaughter without laughter. It's probably a good note to leave it on. Thanks, everyone. See yous when I'm looking at yous.